Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Title for this topic is The Mystery of Krishna's Appearance. In one sense, it's not a big mystery. In another sense, it's a big mystery. In the sense that it's not a big mystery, we know this verse from Bhagavad Gita. Do you know some Bhagavad Gita verses? Janma karma chime divyam. You know that one? Janma karma chime divyam. Okay, let's see if those that know the verse can recite it with me simultaneously. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tatvataha chakva deham punar janma naiti mameti sarjuna. It's a good one. There are two verses, the chapter 7, where Krishna is identifying his appearance in this world. And says that one who understands the divyam, or transcendental nature of his janma and his activities, you normally say lila, he speaks karma, his activities, janma karma cha, may divyam, these activities and his appearance are divyam, transcendental. Evam yo veti, vid means to know. Tatvataha, those who know these in truth. Tatvataha. Chakva deham, when you give up this body, chakva deham, punar janma na. No more birth. No more birth. Ending of the cycle of birth and death just by this very simple understanding the nature, the transcendental nature of Krishna's janma. So it should be pretty simple. Yet it's so important that one can say it's not so simple. Simple but not so simple. Because it's your ticket back to Godhead. No more birth. Ma-meti. You go to Krishna. No more birth, you go to Krishna. Ma-meti sarjuna. So the mystery of Krishna's appearance is discussed extensively, reasonably extensively, in Queen Kunti's prayers. Babble, babble. Do you know who is Queen Kunti? Do you know who is Queen Kunti? Who is Queen Kunti? Yes. See, you knew that one. The Pandavas. You know who the Pandavas are? The 5 Pandavas. And they have the same mother. They're brothers. And their mother is Kunti. Kunti. Kunti was the sister of Krishna's father. Krishna's father's name? Vasudeva. Vasudeva. So Krishna as the son is Vasudeva, the son of Vasudeva. So Vasudeva and Kunti were brother and sister. They had the same father. Their father was Shurasena, and Kunti had 4 other sisters. There were five daughters altogether. She was the most celebrated one. And Vasudeva was one of 10 brothers, and he was the most celebrated amongst the 10 brothers. It's a detail, but details are nice. Of those 9 other brothers of Vasudeva, one of them was named Deva Bhaga. Deva Bhaga was the father of Uddhava. Uddhava, outside of Vrindavan, Uddhava was the most dear person of all to Krishna, most intimately connected with Krishna outside of Vrindavan. You may remember when Krishna went to Mathura, there was Uddhava. And Krishna sent Uddhava with a letter for the gopis. You know that story? Krishna sent Uddhava from Mathura with a letter for the gopis. And when he read the letter to the gopis, that's when Radharani was speaking like a mad person to a bumblebee. Right? You know that part. Mad talks of Radharani talking to the bumblebee. Get out of here. You're the unreliable messenger of an unreliable master. I know your tricks. And she speaks some harsh things to the bumblebee in madness. She's speaking about Uddhava, but she's speaking to a bumblebee. And then the bumblebee flies away. And then she says, "Oh no, please come back. Don't carry that message to Krishna. I didn't mean it. This is really Krishna's, I have whatever he is, my heart is given to him. Please don't deliver that message." Then she goes mad in the other direction. So the one who was delivering Krishna's message for the gopis was Uddhava. Uddhava was very dear to Krishna. And Uddhava was Krishna's cousin, just like Arjuna was Krishna's cousin. So this is about Kunti, mother of the Pandavas, and she was a great devotee. Boy, was she a great devotee. Which means, because she was a great devotee, she knew about Krishna. She knew the mystery of Krishna. And yet she speaks about herself in humility as if she doesn't know, because she's great Vaishnavi. She speaks about how bewildered she is by the transcendental nature of Krishna's appearance. That's what we're going to be speaking about this today. Now, the mystery of Krishna's appearance is something that our founder Acharya wanted the world to know. Yesterday evening, you were there for the class yesterday evening. Yes?
No, I left before that.
You left before that. Okay. It was kind of late. 10:30 at night. In 1961, Srila Prabhupada left for America in 1965, and he reached in 1966 when he established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. But in 1961, he wasn't yet living at the Radha Damodar temple. He was living at a different temple near Keshigat in Vrindavan, in his Vanaprastha stage. And he received an invitation. This is just some appreciation of Prabhupada. He received an invitation, just a printed flyer, for a conference that was going to be taking place in Japan in May of 1961. So he wrote to the organizer, the conference for honoring the human spirit, something like that. Uplifting of the human spirit. Conference for uplifting the human spirit. By some person, not an Indian person, a Japanese person, in Japan. Prabhupada wrote to the man wrote back with a type of a letter that would entitle him to get a visa from India to Japan, 1961. He wrote a book for the purpose of attending that meeting, a 20,000 word small book taken directly from Canto 10, Chapter 20. Canto 10 is Krishna's pastimes. Chapter 20 it's all about the rainy season and then the autumn season in Vrindavan. That's Chapter 20. Well, that was the topic. And in the course of that, presenting that topic, Krishna's there, of course, in Vrindavan. So he was introducing to the people in Japan the topic of Krishna, the mystery of Krishna and Krishna's activities, the transcendental nature. When he came to America, it didn't take too long. In July of 1966, he incorporated ISKCON. And to this day, we celebrate that nice event. And there are 7, according to the laws of the state of New York, to get approval from the government, there has to be a statement of what the purpose is, so they can identify, do you fit into this or that or the other category of organizations. So not-for-profit religious, you have to state what the purpose is. So he gave 7 purposes. And purpose number 7 was this one: to propagate a consciousness of Krishna as it is revealed in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So from the outset, our founder Acharya wanted to introduce Krishna to people and help them understand that which entitled them to not take birth again, Purnarjanma na. Understand the mystery, or the transcendental nature of Krishna's appearance and activities. So Krishna became revealed to the world, and one of the places where Krishna is being revealed is in the prayers of Queen Kunti. Now you know the circumstance, but I'll say it anyways. The circumstance, this is Canto 1, Chapter 8, Srimad Bhagavatam, where the Kurukshetra battle is finished, Bhishma Dev has departed, Yudhisthira is enthroned, they have the whole ceremony of establishing him as the emperor of the world, and Krishna is very happy. So now Krishna is ready to return back to Dwarka. Kunti doesn't want Krishna to go. So Krishna, we see the painting, Krishna's on the chariot, and Kunti, being Queen Kunti, she has privileges. She just weaved her way through the crowd in the public square and made her appeal to Krishna, please don't go. But she didn't say, please don't go. She said so many other things, but the essence of it is, please don't go. And in the course of her prayers, the prayers of Queen Kunti, celebrated prayers, she speaks about the mystery of Krishna's appearance. She speaks in the language where she says, although he's aja, he's unborn, he takes birth. That's a contradiction, right? He's unborn and he takes birth. He either takes birth or he doesn't take birth. But how can you be unborn and take birth? It's a contradiction. It's a mystery. So she wants to unravel the mystery by indicating how different people have different ideas about that mystery. She knows, because she's a pure devotee, she knows. But she's expressing as if she doesn't, for glorification of Krishna. So there's a series of 6 verses in Kunti's prayers. That's what we're going to discuss. And if the sound system works properly, we'll be able to hear Sri Rupa singing the verse, and then we can chant responsively, and then she does it again for each one of the verses. So listen, but I'll warn you, you have to pause after she sings, because there's a pause. If you start singing right away, you'll mess up. So pause.
Janma karma cha vishvatman ajasya katuratmana divyani shishuyadasu tadatyanta vidambana.
Pause. Karma cha vishvatman ajyakartu atmanaha priyanta yadishu. Then again. No. Pause. Janma karma cha vishvatman ajasya.
Ajasya karturatmana tiryamishushuyadasu tadatyanta vidambana.
So you see in the second line, aja, ajasya kartu atmanaha. So, aja. Of course, it is bewildering, O soul of the universe, Vishvatman, that you work, though you are inactive, and that you take birth, though you are the vital force and the unborn. You yourself descend amongst animals, men, sages, and aquatics. Verily, vidambanam. This is bewildering. Not just dambanam, but vidambanam. Very bewildering. In Krishna's pastimes, the janma karma chime divyam, the transcendental nature of Krishna's activities and his appearance, it's contradictory or unthinkable. Vishwanath Chakravarti, going back one verse, text 29, we just chanted text 30. Here's Vishwanath's translation. No one knows the intentions of the Lord who desires to hide himself in human form, who does not show favor or hatred to anyone, and about whom all men have different opinions. And Kunti's going to detail some of those opinions. This first one is one of those opinions. His commentary, who will decide the truth about you if there is disagreement? Answer, no one will decide. This is explained in 2 verses. So in this world, it's not uncommon. People have different opinions about many things. And sometimes when there's different opinions about different things, there's a conflict. Now Vishwanath is saying no one's going to resolve this conflict. Of course, Kunti is, at the end, we'll see how she resolves that conflict. So the verse 30, the Lord is the all-pervading supersoul of all existence, Vishvatman. Yet, he appears. He appears in the form of an animal, like Lord Varaha. There we see Varaha lifting earth, and he's got a club, and he's smacking with his club. Who's that? Hiranyaksha. Hiranyaksha? There's a finished Hiranyaksha. So he appears in the form of an animal like a board, in the form of a human like Rama, Krishna, etc., in the form of a rishi like Narayana Rishi, that's in this nice image here. Sometimes in the form of an aquatic like a fish. Yet he's unborn. And he has nothing to do. No one is equal to or greater than him. So how is this, what's going on here? How is this possible? Contradictions, the key to understanding how contradictions like this are to be resolved, he does so through his potencies. He does and he doesn't. Because he doesn't, but his potencies bring about whatever happens. And those potencies are unlimited and inconceivable. Unlimited and inconceivable. There's a very nice teaching at the beginning of Jiva Goswami's Bhagavat Sandarbha. Anybody here not know who is Jiva Goswami and would like an introduction to who is Jiva Goswami? Jiva Goswami? You all know who is Jiva Goswami. Very good. He wrote 6 portions of the Sandarbhas. One of them is Bhagavat Sandarbha. So the very beginning is a definition of Bhagavan. And at the beginning of that Bhagavat Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami writes, there's no possibility of understanding God or Bhagavan without the initial or preliminary acceptance that God is possessed of unlimited and inconceivable potencies. That's Bhagavan. Unlimited and inconceivable. That means the mind, unthinkable by the mind. It's beyond that. Whatever the mind can think of, it's beyond that. Inconceivable. And unlimited. Anything we know, there's a limit. But what's that which is unlimited? Krishna's potencies are unlimited. So, by his inconceivable and unlimited potencies, everything is possible. Therefore, no one can calculate him exactly. Having acknowledged all this, he can be easily understood by the pure devotees because they are intimately related with him. And Kunti is one of them. And so here's she's speaking as if she doesn't understand and is bewildered. Or she describes that these aspects of him are deceptive. They appear to be one thing, but it's another thing because of his inconceivable potencies. Here's how Vishwanath translates the verse we just read, text 30. O soul of the universe, you are unborn and perform no actions, but you take birth and perform activities. In the forms of animals, men, and aquatics, this is extremely deceptive. Vidambadam, he translates that way. Deceptive. Bewildering or deceptive. Commentary says, understanding the conclusions about your partiality or impartiality, your action or lack of action, your birth or lack of birth, one can relish your pastimes. In other words, for devotees like Kunti and devotees like Vishwanath, it's appreciating the transcendental nature. It helps one appreciate Krishna by the transcendental nature of that which appears to be contradictory, but is nothing but an exhibition of his various potencies. You are born, though you are unborn, and perform actions, though you are not the doer. You manifest your attractive nature in various forms of animals, humans, and aquatics. This is an extreme deception, atyanta vidambanam, since it appears that you lessen your stature by accepting inferior forms. That's the deception part, he says. And that is, if he appears as a boar, that's like not very nice. Or an aquatic, etc. Or a tortoise, or a fish. That diminishes his stature, but it's actually the opposite. When you accepted the boar incarnation, you sniffed out the earth. Though you are omniscient and omnipotent, you became a real boar. But seeing that form, the knowers of the truth will not laugh and say that you are simply a mortal animal, thinking that you are a jiva under the control of karma, since you are actually without birth and material action. Your pastimes with birth and action must not actually be true. But this is incompatible with the fact that the pastimes are attractive to Atmaramas, like Shukadev. You follow that one? I'll do it again. What's an Atmarama? It's one of the verses in Canto 1, Chapter 7. Atmaramas chamunayo nirgrantha api urukrame. Shukadev Goswami is not interested in anything material. He's certainly not interested in fiction. Yet he's very interested in the activities of Krishna and his various incarnations, which would point to the fact they're not imaginary. So one might conclude they're imaginary. They're not actually true. It's fiction. But it's contradicted by the fact that Shukadeva Goswami is very attracted. He's totally not interested in material anything, and very attracted to the pastimes of Krishna and his expansions. So they're not fiction. It's just adding a little tension to he's born and he's not born. He doesn't do things, but he does things. He seems to be partial, but he's not partial. However, from the statement of the Lord himself, Janma Karma Chame Divyam Evam Yoveti Tattvataha, he who knows the truth of my birth and activities, they're factual, not fiction. This is incompatible with the statement that the Lord has no birth and no activities. Thus, who can know the truth about the Lord's possessing unlimited and inconceivable powers? Now this is Vishwanath's commentary on the first verse, text 30. So now moving along, Kunti is going to go further with this bewildering feature of Krishna's pastimes and appearance. You see in red letters the word Punya Sloka. That's a name by which Yudhisthira was known during his reign as a king, because he was glorified as a pious king, Punya Shloka. And then the other in those purple letters is as sandalwood appears in the Malaya hills, Malaya, Chandam. So here's the verse. Let's sing, and after the Sri Rupa sings. Pause. Or ajam jatam punya slokasya kirtaye yado priyasyan prayasya chandanam. Kichit ahor ajam jatam punya slokasya kirtaye yado priyasyan vaye. So in the paintings on the right, there's Yudhisthira, Punya Sloka, and the photo at the bottom is a photo of sandalwood trees in the Malaya hills. Now Prabhupada would comment, sandalwood trees can grow anywhere, but historically there was a time when many sandalwood trees were grown in Malaya, and so then it became known as, and still known as, Malaya Chandan, although the Chandan may have not come from Malaysia. So some say that the unborn is born for the glorification of pious kings, like Yudhisthira and others. And others say that he is born to please King Yadu, like Yadu Virya or Yadu Nandana, to glorify Yadu. Because otherwise we wouldn't know about now Yadu, except Krishna appeared in his lineage. He's in the Yadu dynasty, Yadu Nandana. one of your dearest devotees. You appear in his family as sandalwood appears in the Malaya hills. So here's a painting of Nanda conducting the name-giving ceremony for Krishna and Balaram, where Yado Priyasya Vayat Vaye. He is born to please King Yadu, one of your dearest devotees. So, Yadunandana. This is Vishwanath's commentary. There are many opinions about the cause of your appearance. One of them is this one. Punya Shloka here refers to Yudhishthir, since he was famous by that name at that time. Or, as a descendant of Yadu, Yadava, Yaduvira, Yadunandana. This is a painting of Narada Muni visiting Dwaraka, where the members of the Yadu dynasty were situated. When Jarasandha and Kalyavana were attacking Mathura at the same time, Krishna made this arrangement. He told Balaram, you hold off the armies, I'm going to situate everybody in Dwarka. And he had Vishvakarma construct very swiftly a very big city. We're reading in the morning Bhagavatam class in Chicago about that exact passage. Vishvakarma is a celestial architect who derives his powers from Krishna. When Krishna asked him to create a city, he got special powers and built a whole city that in diameter, according to the Bhagavatam, according to commentary of the Bhagavatam, is 240 miles in diameter. What's the distance between here and Chicago? Maybe 120? How many? 80. 80. So multiply that by 3. That's the diameter of the city of Dwarka. Pretty big. An island in the ocean with big walls around, and there's details describing. On Tuesday morning, I'm going to read a section from Hari Vangsha Purana by Vyasadeva, where there's 2 chapters describing what was inside those walls with Vishvakarma constructed. You know, he did it in a jiffy too. And then in the middle of the night, Krishna transferred all the Yadu dynasty members from Mathura to Dwarka for safety. And then he went back to Mathura to deal with first Kalyavana and give some service to Muchakunda to cinder him, and then Jarasandha. So Krishna's pastimes are wonderful. And it's just his potencies. That's the idea. The mystery behind the appearance and activities of Krishna is his unlimited potencies. Here's another nice painting. This is Krishna in Dwarka, entering into Dwarka. And here's another nice painting of ancient Dwarka. So as Krishna is honoring Yadu by appearing in his dynasty, so it says, Lord Sri Krishna is just like the sandalwood that grows in the Malaya hills. So as the hills become celebrated because the sandalwood appears in the hills, Yadu is celebrated because Krishna appeared in the Yadu dynasty. That's the comparison. And similarly, Krishna is known by other names. Here's one of the Krishna's names, is the chariot driver of Arjuna. Arjuna's mother's name? Kunti, right? Yes. There was before she was known as Kunti. She was known as Kunti because she was given in charity to King Kunti Bhoja. Because her father, Kunti's father was Shurasena. Shurasena had a friend, Kunti Bhoja. He had no children. He wanted a daughter. So Shurasena said, you can adopt. So he adopted Kunti. Kunti Bhoja's daughter became Kunti. But Shurasena had named his father something else, Pritha. And Pritha, the son of Pritha, becomes Partha.
Sorry, I'm not able to help with this one yet.
So sometimes in Bhagavad Gita we find Krishna, Arjuna addressed as Partha, O son of Partha. Oh, Partha Sarati, the chariot driver of Arjuna. Or Nanda Nandana, or Yasoda Nandana, because Krishna appeared. They're celebrated because Krishna appeared as their son. So now we're ready for the third verse. Ready for the third verse? Here we go.
Apare Vasudevasya Devakyam Yachito Vyadhat Ajastvamasya Chimaya Vadaya Chasuradusha
Apare Vasudevasya Devakyam Yachito Bhyagat Ajastvam Asya Kshemaya Vadayachasuradvisham.
Apare Vasudevasya Devakyam Yachito Vyaghat Ajastvamasya Chimaya Vadaya Chasuradusha
Apare Vasudevasya Devakyam Yachito Bhyagat Ajastvam Asya Kshemaya Vadaya Chasuradvisham. Dvisha means envy. So those who are Sura Dvisha, those who are envious of the demigods, Krishna came to finish them. Vadaya cha Sura Dvisham. Others say that since both Vasudeva and Devaki prayed for you, which is true, you have taken your birth as their son. Undoubtedly you are unborn, yet you take your birth for their welfare and to kill those who are envious of the demigods. Now remember, Vasudeva and the person offering these prayers, Queen Kunti, their brother and sister. So she knows her brother and his wife Devaki, they offered prayers to Krishna to appear. So Krishna appeared. In reciprocation with their love, Krishna appeared. But he came for another reason also. That other reason is vinashayasya duskritam, to finish the duskritis. Vinash. Some of you know that verse? There are three reasons by which Krishna appears. Who knows the verse? Say it loud enough so we can all hear. Hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam srajamyaham. Very good. No, not yet. So there's three reasons given in that verse. Three reasons. One, pritranaya sadhunam, to deliver pritranaya sadhunam, those who are sadhus, to deliver them. Vinashaya cha duskritam, to finish the duskritis. And dharma sangstha, to reestablish dharma. Sambhavami yuge, from age to age, from time to time I appear and do those three things. So she's saying the same thing, only she's saying it as Krishna's aunt. She has this realization, same as Krishna declares about himself. So because Vasudeva and Devaki prayed to Krishna to appear, he appeared. Circumstance wasn't so pleasant as the prison house, but he appeared. Now here's a little chart that I'm sure you can appreciate. When Krishna appeared, they offered their prayers, first Vasudeva, then Devaki, and then Krishna spoke, and saying, you pleased me very much by your austerities long, long ago, in Satya Yuga, 2 yugas previous to Krishna's appearance. You were Sutapa and Prishni, and you underwent long austerities, wishing to have me as your son, so I appeared before you as Prishni Garba, and said, I'll appear in this form. Please proceed. So Krishna appeared. First time, as the son of Sutapa and Prishni, and then in the next yuga, Krishna appeared as the son of Kashyapa and Aditi, Upendra, or Vamana, son of Kashyapa and Aditi. Now this time, Vasudeva Krishna, son of Vasudeva and Devaki. Interesting, in the second canto, where there's also a list of descriptions, it says that this Prishni Garbha was the very, very same form of Vishnu that appeared before Dhruva. Same yuga, right? Same yuga, Satya Yuga, when the Dhruva pastime took place. So that's the form that he showed to Dhruva Maharaj. And the next yuga, the son of Kashyapa and Aditi, as Vamana, or Upendra. So now we're ready for some more mystery. Here's text 34. Bhagavataranayaye Bhovanavayodhaya Siddhantya Bodhibharina Jata Hyatma Bhavartita. Bhagavataranayaye Bhovanava Ivodadao Siddhantya Bodhibharina Jato Yatma Bhavartita. Others say that the world, being overburdened like a boat at sea, is much aggrieved, and that Brahma, who is your son, prayed for you, and so you have appeared to diminish the trouble. We know the circumstance. The earth was overburdened, too many demoniac kings. Mother Earth took the form of a cow, went to the demigods went to Brahma took the demigods to the shore of the Milk Ocean. They offered the Purusha Sukta prayers. The Lord responded, I understand the circumstance. Soon I will appear, in response to Brahma's prayer. Now, how is it that Brahma is the son of Krishna? There's this lengthy discussion in Chaitanya Charitamrita, which I'm not going to go into. But he, in Brahma's prayers to Krishna at the time of the stealing the calves and cowherd boys, you know that pastime? Brahma Vimohan Lila. He says, you're Narayan. And there's this little boy, 5 years old. You're Narayan? He said, Brahma, please consider, what are you saying? And he gives his arguments. It's true. What I'm saying is true. It's a very nice discussion in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So he addresses him as Narayana, which is one of the expansions. Garbho Dakshai Vishnu was one of the expansions. And without the assistance of Lakshmi ji, he begot Lord Brahma. So Garbhodakshay Vishnu is his father, which means that Krishna is his father, because he's his expansion. There we see Brahma appearing from the lotus flower coming from the navel of Garbhodakshay Vishnu. Another nice BBT painting of Brahma coming as the son of Garbhodakshay Vishnu directly from his body. Here's a nice painting of Lord Brahma with Mother Earth in the form of a cow. They're over there on the right, and various demigods behind him, coming to the shore of the Milk Ocean. You know it's the Milk Ocean because you can see the fish swimming around. And there's the Swetadweep in the middle of that Milk Ocean, with the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, Garuda by his side, paraphernalia of Lakshmi for worshipping Lord Vishnu, Anantashesh, the serpent bed of Lord Vishnu, and they offer their prayers. Here's a more detailed painting where they go to the shore of the Milk Ocean. There's an ocean, but it's an ocean of milk. Shiro, Dakshayi Vishnu residing there in the ocean of milk. And Shiro Dakshayi Vishnu is the Paramatma feature. Remember it said he's the soul of the universe, Paramatma, soul of the universe. But he appears because the demigods, headed by Lord Brahma, prayed for him to appear. Here's text 35. Avidya kama karma bhi Shravanas marayarhani Karashan iti kechana.
Bhavismin Krishamananam Avidya Kama Karma Bhi Shravana Smaranarhani Karishan Iti Kichana Bhavismin
Shrimananam Avidya kama karma bhi Shravana smaranarhani Karisham itikechana. And yet others say that you appeared for the sake of rejuvenating the devotional service of hearing, remembering, worshipping, and so on, in order that the conditioned soul suffering from the material pangs might take advantage and gain liberation. Now, one of the purposes of Krishna's appearance, there are three: Pritranaya sadhanam, Vinashaya chaduskritam. The third one, Dharma Sangsthapanartaya. That's this one. To restore principles of Dharma by the transcendental principles of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, the processes of devotional service. And this activity of Dharma, spoken by Yamaraj in Canto 6, Chapter 3. He's explaining to the Yamadutas that the principles of Dharma are given by Sakshat Bhagavat. Sakshat Bhagavan. He pranitam, he establishes principles of Dharma directly, personally. From the purport, here's something that Srila Prabhupada writes. The Lord, out of his causeless mercy, because he is more merciful to the suffering living beings than they can expect, appears before them and renovates the principles of devotional service. So Vishwanath is going to tell us this is the real reason. I mean, there's other reasons, doesn't discount the other reasons. But the inner purpose of the Lord, aside from glorifying various devotees, etc., is this one. Here's Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur's commentary. It's very interesting. This is the real reason for the Lord's appearance. First, there is ignorance, avidya, and then desire. Remember, avidya, karma, karma be. Then desire, and then action. You come to engage those suffering due to actions arising from material desires, which are due to ignorance and actions for attaining prema. The destruction of suffering is incidental, because it is said in the next verse that the result of hearing about the Lord is seeing the lotus feet of the Lord. By seeing the Lord, one attains prema. So a little quick one. In the West, Buddhism is becoming more and more popular. I mean, at least the euphemisms of Buddhism have become more and more popular. Here's two examples. One example is mindfulness. You've heard that phrase? I was asked to speak about this at a university once, the art of mindfulness. And so, as I was preparing, I was staying at somebody's home who was an IT guy. And I said, you know, in your profession, do they use this word mindfulness? He said, oh, yes. Everyone that's in a management position in our company, they have to take the Mindful Manager course. Mindfulness. Another time I was going to attend a program at University of Illinois at Chicago. So to get there, it's kind of downtown. You had to go through a downtown street. And over here on the right, a gigantic place, the home of the Mindful Burger. It's a buzz. Mindfulness. It's a buzz. I could give other examples. Where does that mindfulness come from? It's come from Buddhism. Because a major part of Buddha's teaching is mindfulness. And it goes like this. The root cause of suffering, if you become a little familiar with Buddhism, the root cause of suffering is desire. Say it again. The root cause of suffering is desire. And if you want to become free from suffering, become free from desire. How do you become free from desire? Mindfulness. Because desire goes this way, that's the past, lamenting over the past, or planning the future, ignorance and passion. So don't go ignorance and passion direction, be in the moment. Be in the moment, be in the moment, be in the moment. When you get really good at being in the moment, what happens? You go on the other side of the moment. And what's on the other side of the moment? Nirvana. It's cessation of material existence is in the moment. And you go on the other side of the moment and it's nirvana. Cessation of material existence. Now, this verse, and in general the Vedas, teach differently. Vaishnavism teaches the root cause of suffering is ignorance. From ignorance comes ignorant desire. From ignorant desire comes ignorant activity. From ignorant activity comes suffering. The root cause is ignorance. To relieve the living entity from suffering, relieve the living entity from ignorance. So Krishna comes to relieve the living entities of ignorance by giving transcendental dharma through his transcendental teachings and his transcendental activities. But supposing you're a Buddhist and Buddha rejected the Vedas, so you don't know that. So you don't deal with the ignorance part, you just deal with the desire part. But desire is of the soul. So the problem isn't removed by trying to become desireless or mindful. For devotees, our mindfulness is also there, and the mindful of Krishna. Just like when you're chanting. I'll assume everybody here is chanting. Maybe not the best, but we're all chanting. And the best is when you're completely mindful of that sound vibration. We practice mindfulness, transcendental mindfulness, on that which is beyond cessation of material existence. What's beyond nirvana is Krishna Loka. Beyond nothing, because nirvana is nothingness. Beyond cessation of material existence is spiritual existence. So Krishna comes to give that good news. And that good news is fructified by prema. So the image is meant to show ignorance. I don't know if you're familiar with this adage, but it's said that when an ostrich sees some danger, he sticks his head in the sand. You heard that one before? No? The ostrich, when he sees danger, that's how he deals with it. Well, one of the ways he deals with it. Sticks his head in the sand. The danger goes away. And that's on the ignorance side, and here comes the material desire side. From ignorance comes material desire. And from material desire comes fruitive work. And the alternative to that is transcendental love of God. That's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his gift to the world, to bestow prema upon living entities. Now there's a few more slides, but I think I'll just end with that because I think it's a nice place to end. The summary of Queen Kunti's prayers, the mystery of Krishna's appearance, is he appears for this reason. And all the other reasons, they're not zeros. But the strongest reason is for everybody. When he does this one, he does the other ones also. He's honoring Yadu, and he's honoring Punya Shloka, Yudhishthir, and he's responding to Brahma's prayers, and he does all these different things. Many purposes. There's 64 qualities of Krishna described in Nectar Devotion. And one of them is that by one activity he's accomplishing simultaneously multiple things. So at least in the opinion of Vishwanath, this is the primary reason, as you see, the real reason for Krishna's appearance, is to remove ignorance, which then removes material desire, kama, and removes material activity. But that's secondary. The primary is to awaken prema. That's what Krishna wants. So Janmashtami comes once a year. It's a nice time to remember the reason for Krishna's appearance. And it's a very special prema that he gives when he appears in Vrindavan. He gives Vraja Prem. That's very, very, very special. We were discussing this a little bit on Krishna Janmashtami. I'll say one final thing. It's something I came across and really appreciate. What's the difference, question, what's the similarity and the difference between Krishna, who appears as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki, and Krishna, who appears as the son of Nanda and Jasoda? Are there a difference, or are they exactly the same? And if they're the same, fine. And if they're different, fine. But what's the difference? What's the sameness and difference? Huh? Okay. But that has something to do with rasa. So here's what Rupa Goswami, thank you. Here's what Rupa Goswami writes I don't know, according to Siddhanta, he said that he writes, they're non-different. Vasudeva, Krishna, and Yasodanandana, Krishna, by Siddhanta, they're the same. By scriptural teaching, they're the same. They're non-different. The difference, however, he says, is the difference of rasa. And because the rasa within Yasodanandana, Nandanandana, Brajendra Nandana Krishna is super excellent, not found in Vasudeva Krishna. He's in the superior position because of rasa. And there are different ways of describing that rasa distinction. So that was the topic I spoke at the temple on Krishna Janmashtami. What's the difference between these two? And how does Brajendra Nandana Krishna make his way into Braja? So it was a nice topic. I don't know how much there were some new people in the audience, and I think Radharaman thought it was maybe a little bit over their head. But their response was they enjoyed it. At least they seemed to enjoy it. Nobody left. So let's see if there's some discussion, the mystery of Krishna's appearance. Yes.
Is Aditi and Kashyapa, are they always the same personality? Because my question is about kind of like about how long their lifespans are. Are they alive during a full Manvantara? And isn't there some one at the post of being mother of the demigods while Devaki has Krishna as her son?
Your question, let me say back your question. Is it a post or is it a personality, is your question? Like Brahma is a post. Different persons occupy the post of Brahma.
Yes, I guess that would be the question. Yeah.
And in the case of, so just responding, in the case of Yasoda and Nanda, it's not a post. That's a person. They descend from the spiritual world. There's some other details involved, but they descend from the spiritual world. Their expansion, here's the detail. I'll get to your question, but they're eternally associated with Krishna in the spiritual world. And they appear in this world for the purpose of Krishna's pastimes. And they have their partial expansions called vibhuti in the heavenly realm, known by the name Drona and Dara. They're vasus in the heavenly realm. They undergo austerities. Nanda Jasoda don't undergo austerities to get Krishna as their son. I mean, in Leela they do, but so anyway, they're eternal. Yasoda and Nanda are eternal. And Vasudeva and Devaki, they're also in the spiritual world, in Krishna Loka, eternally, in Mathura, eternally. And then their expansion comes, and they're now Kashyapa and Aditi. You want to know, is that a post, or are they eternally Kashyapa and Aditi? That's essentially what your question is. My understanding is they're not. I don't know of any scriptural reference that says one way or the other, but the specific distinction about Vasudeva and Devaki and Nanda and Jasoda, they're in the spiritual sky. There's no demigods in the spiritual sky. And Kashyap and Aditi, they're the mother and father of demigods. So that's of this world. And so therefore it's not eternal Kashyap and Aditi. There may be they may in different yugas be known by different names and become the mother and father of various demigods.
Is it kind of like when there's nobody qualified to fulfill the post of Indra, then Krishna takes
But that's rare. That's extremely rare.
But I mean, just an example, is that kind of what happens with Mother Aditi and Kashyapa and
the incident, the common is someone takes the post of Indra. Not only, once during a day of Brahma, but every time there's a change of Manus. There's a different Indra, there's a different Indra, there's a different Indra. Every time there's a change of Manus, he brings in his whole cabinet, and there's a different Indra. It's a post.
Yeah.
And so your question is Kashyap and Aditi a post?
Right.
Well, their parents, their mother and father of various devas. Now, specific is Krishna sometimes take their post. It's not the same as Indra.
Or I would say, is it like Devaki and
No, it's not the same.
and Vasudeva take the post?
No, it's not a post. They're eternal associates of Krishna in the spiritual sky. They're eternal associates of Krishna. There's Vasudeva and Devaki in Krishna Loka, in the Mathura portion of Krishna Loka. I mean, our acharyas are very specific about that. The question you're asking, I've not read anything. It's just intuitive, because they're not in Krishna Loka. Therefore, it's different persons occupy that position, and in different cycles of the Manus, they may be known by a different name as well than Kashyapa and Aditi.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Something else. Kind of a technical question, but that's okay.
Thank you, Maharaj, for a wonderful outline of what Kunti's prayers are. So one question I had was related to when all the devatas, and even I saw Lord Shiva praying to Krishna to appear, and you said it is Kshirodakasai Vishnu. I was in the impression that it was Garbhodakasai Vishnu, but the Kshirodakasai Vishnu, is it in this universe or?
Yes.
Okay.
They went to the shore of the milk ocean, the Bhagavatam speaks, or writes. They went to the shore of the milk ocean. The milk ocean is where Shira Dakshay Vishnu resides. It's Shira Dakshay Vishnu, the shore of the milk ocean. And yes, it's within this universe. Shira Dakshay Vishnu resides on Svetadweep. That white island is in this universe. It's the same as where Dhruvaloka is.
Okay.
That's where Dhruvaloka is. It's where Dhruva went. Is Dhruvaloka. He became the presiding personality of that place, and presided there for the duration of the universe.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for coming to Milwaukee. Can you go back to the previous slide, please?
Sure.
So your comment about mindfulness got me thinking.
I skipped some slides at the end, but that's okay.
Yeah, this one.
This one.
So it seems like there are multiple paths to attain the prema, right? There is this removal of ignorance or avidya, and then reduction or elimination of desire, and then ultimately of unfruitful.
That's the negation part, but the negation doesn't take care of the awakening of the positive part.
Okay, that answers the question I was going to ask. I think that if that going that route seems like one attains prema.
No. Liberation, moksha, is the negation part. But moksha and prema are not the same. Negation is not prema. Moksha is not prema. Negation of the material influences upon the jiva is not prema.
So it's the pre-qualification.
It happens simultaneously, or you can say pre-qualification. But as long as the soul is covered, then prema isn't going to awaken.
Okay.
It's not just first A, and then A is complete, full stop, then B starts. As prema, it's like a dimmer switch. As light goes on, darkness is dispelled. So the bhakti process is awakening bhakti. The mature stage of bhakti is prema. But there's the beginning stage, the intermediate stages, 9 stages up to prema, or 8 stages up to prema. And as bhakti awakens, these 3 are dissipated. And it's essential for the darkness to be dissipated, the darkness of ignorance, the darkness of ignorant desire, the darkness of ignorant activity.
That makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like walking into the room and then turning the lights on. Turning the light on would be equivalent to those 9 stages.
However, the light switch that we're accustomed to, is binary.
On and off, yep.
And
It's a
this
dimmer
isn't a
switch.
binary one. This is a dimmer switch.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Some processes emphasize the negation. But if there's not an awakening of bhakti, then where does it leave you? Nirvishesha shunyavadi, that's where it leaves you. No prema.
Thank you.
Here's this Satchit Ananda. Sat, awareness of our eternality, diminishes and dismisses avidya. The opposite. One cannot realize who we are as an eternal entity as long as who we are is covered by ignorance. So ignorance has to be removed in order to realize who we are. But then when you realize who you are, that's not prema yet. There's no influence of the fullness of the chit and ananda potency. So bhakti has all 3. Or the name of Krishna has all 3, Satchitananda Vigraha.
So the Buddhism. Sorry, I turned this
Yeah,
off.
yeah, go
Buddhism
ahead,
sort
go
of
ahead.
focuses on the first 3, but
Yes.
maybe not on prema as
Well,
much, right?
yes, it focuses on number 2 of the first 3, 2 and 3. It focuses on becoming free from desire, kama. Not just lust, but desire. Desire. So the awakening of knowledge isn't complete. It's like anesthesia. When you're under anesthesia, you're not feeling anything. You're not desiring anything. You're existing, but you're not aware of even existing.
Right.
And when the anesthesia wears off, then you start, desire starts again. So it's artificial. In other words, that the Buddhism is our Gaudiya acharyas describe, Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes, the intention of Buddha is to help people who have too much desire so much of sinful desire to become freed from that sinful desire enough that then they can come to understand who they really are. But they don't come to understand who they are. It's incomplete. Rather, who am I? It's nothing. In English, it's void, or Sanskrit is nirvana. The English translation of nirvana is cessation of material existence. So if I stop material existence, who am I? I still don't know who I am. I still haven't reached the Sat feature. It's just amnesia, or anesthetizing consciousness by locking down desire, which is of the soul. It's very artificial. And how long can anesthesia last? How long can suppression of that which is of the soul last? That which is of the soul in the pure state is love of God. Intrinsic to the soul is love of God. But there's no mention of God or love of God or who you are. It's just who you aren't, to become free from suffering. Then there's a whole lot of other things. Just sharing with you because you're asking. Once a week, every Monday, like tomorrow morning, 6:30 in the morning, because it's 7:30 in the evening in China, I give a class. So a little while later, I'm going to start a series on describing what our acharyas write about Buddha's teachings. Because much of what our acharyas write about Buddha's teachings is his reason to stop animal slaughter, to promote nonviolence. But what's in his teachings is not so often, we don't find so much about that. But there are two places. One place is Jiva Goswami gets into it, what his teachings actually are, and there's like many, too many branches or subdivisions. But there's a primary thrust in many of those subdivisions that speaks about the momentariness of reality. I'll just say it because no one else is saying anything else. Kshana, like we say in our Mangal Arti prayers, pratikshana svadana lolupasya. Kshana is a measure of time. And it's less than a moment. It's in the Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 10, I think it is. Kshana. So, Kshana Vada, Kshana Vijnana Vada is a Vada teaching of Buddhism. Vijnana means, in this case, means realization. Kshana Vijnana Vada. It's that the doctrine says all that exists is the moment. Past is gone, future doesn't exist yet. And as soon as the past is gone, then whatever that past is gone. Because the only thing that exists, this is a postulation or a theory or a premise. All there is the moment. And the argument goes like this. Supposing I see a blue object in this moment. In the next moment I see a yellow object. That the consciousness, the vijnana of a blueness is gone. Now it's just yellowness. And then the yellowness is gone, and then all that exists is the moment. So the teaching, the practice, is to be in the moment, be in the moment, be in the moment, be in the moment, because that's the only reality. And when you become really expert, you go on the other side of the moment and enter into nirvana, enlightenment, the goal. Well, just hang on, I'll get to you. And just, no, let's just stay focused. So what does Jiva Goswami write about that? And he says he has a lot to say about that. I find it interesting. I find it interesting and practical because there are lots of people that use the phrase without having any idea what it's about. What does the phrase mean? What's the implication of the phrase? Mindfulness, the mindful manager, and so forth. Things just get watered down and marketed and get commercialized, and there's no meaning to it. So what does it mean? And Jiva Goswami deals with what it means and why it's not correct. He gives 5 different refutations why it's not correct. And then what he writes is the basis of this. I'm done with this. Baladev Vidyabhusan, as we know, Baladev Vidyabhusan. Anybody here not know who that is? He's the one who Prabhupada dedicated his Bhagavad Gita commentary to, Baladev Vidyabhusan, a great commentator. Baladev wrote commentary on Vedanta Sutra. There's a whole circumstance. And there are sutras in Vedanta Sutra that deal with consciousness. It's in Sutra, the second part of Vedanta Sutra, that deals with consciousness. Right in Vedanta Sutra. And he, Baladev, does the same thing that Jiva Goswami does in the Sandarbhas, because he's the Acharya who Baladev is following, and he refutes Shanak Vijnana Vada by name, just as Jiva Goswami does. Because it's a big thing in Buddhism, mindfulness. Many people that use the phrase, even people in China, Buddhist, they don't know what it means. I mean, what it means to be a Buddhist. What's the goal? What's it all about? No idea, from my experience. There's a devotee in China who is the president of a Buddhist monastery, and we've had discussion on this point. And he concurs. It's not understood. So, removal of ignorance is incomplete. Thus, removal of the desire is incomplete, and thus removal of karma is incomplete. It just, put a tourniquet on and stop, your blood flow. Then you expire. And that's nirvana. But the soul doesn't expire. The soul has desire. Even under anesthesia, the soul has desire. It's just suppressed. Or more deeply covered than when you're not under anesthesia. More ignorance. So it's problematic. And I'm having a nice time preparing to present to the devotees of China, not for the purpose of, it's called vitandi, just defeating Buddhism. The goal is not, push them out of the way. The goal is to have some clarity why bhakti is so important and why that's preliminary, but it's incomplete. We don't poo-poo it. There's a purpose behind it. It's to make wet wood dry by controlling desire. That's good. Then, ignite it. Behind you there was something.
Just a question to add to that is, even though Buddhism focuses on negation of desire, it has many prayers that are giving homage to the Buddhas, different Buddhas, and
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
meditation on the form of Amitabha. Is this to lead people in Buddhism to the path of devotion?
That's not the purpose. It may happen, but that's not the purpose. Since you're asking, I don't know if anybody else in the room is interested, but Amitabha is the modern mainland China, the biggest form of Buddhism. It's not Buddha's original teaching. What Amitabha Buddha is said about him is he recognized many people are not going to make it. So he's very merciful, compassionate Buddha. He created a place called Pure Land. You read what it says about Pure Land and it sounds like heaven. He created a place where people can go and they worship Amitabha Buddha. And they say prayers to Amitabha Buddha and so forth. So they can go to the Pure Land that's like heaven. And in that Pure Land, they live for a long, long time. They enjoy, heavenly delights. And some persons may go the rest of the way. It's like, the Vedic picture of the planets above heaven. Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, Brahmaloka. They may go beyond. They may not also. But it's not Buddha's teachings. He didn't recommend worship me. He recommended follow my teachings, and my teachings are become free from desire. So, over a period of time, many things have happened that are other than what Buddha's teachings are. That happens. No problem. Par for the course. But it's not Buddha's teachings.
Thank you.
Okay, mysteries of Krishna's appearance. I think that's it. You have something. What's that?
Very small question.
Small question. Here's the microphone. It's a small microphone. Just speak and we'll get to hear you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, my question was regarding Prishni Garbha.
Yeah.
Can you please elaborate a little bit more? I don't know much about him at all.
Prishni Garbha is a form of Vishnu that appeared as the son of Sutapa and Prishni. Like Vamana appeared as the son, Prishni Garbha appeared as the son. And he, Prishni Garbha, is a form of Krishna. Known by the name Prishni Garbha to honor Prishni. Just like Nanda Nandana. Krishna has no name, but he's Nanda Nandana because he's the son of Nanda. So Prishni Garbha is a form of Vishnu known by the name Prishni Garbha because he appeared following the austerities, the Vatsalya Rasa, the parental affection of Sutapa and Prishni. Long austerities to have a son like the personality of Godhead. So he appeared before them. I'll appear as your son. I'll look just like this.
So he literally was like the Narayana form.
Yes. Form on form. Prishni Garbha. Just same as what appeared before Dhruva. Same. That you want to know what the form looked like? Read what it says in the Dhruva story. That's what he looked like.
Mm-hmm.
Forearm form with the symbols of Vishnu in the particular sequence of where the position of the forms, the symbols of Vishnu were. That's Prishni Garbha.
And the purpose of that incarnation, Maharaj, is only to give pleasure to those devotees?
Well, we don't know whatever happened after that. I mean, I've not come across anything that says, what did he do after he appeared as their son?
Okay.
But, for the most part, when forms of the Lord come, they do things.
Mm-hmm.
But in Rupa Goswami's book, Lagu Bhagavatamrita, you've heard that name before?
Yes, Maharaj.
It's published by the BBT.
Mm-hmm.
And the topic of Lagu Bhagavatamrita is forms of the Lord. Avatar, forms of the Lord in this world. And I haven't read it carefully, but there are portions with there are different, so many different categories. And some of the categories of avatars, there's not, it's specifically they're in a category where not much is said about what they did, other than they came and as something. Some, they give teachings, like Kapila as an example, or Dattatreya gave teachings. They gave teachings. But there's not a lot said about their lives and what else they did. So that's a category of avatar. So you can find, if you're really interested, you can go to Laghu Bhagavatamrita and look up Prishnigarbha and see what you come up with.
Thank you, Maharaj. Appreciate it.
To my knowledge, there's nothing written about his activities, other than he came also as the son of Dhruva. He's the form of the Lord before Dhruva. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Yeah. We came to know that Krishna has chose Vasudeva and Devaki as his parents.
Yes.
Why did he chose Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda as his
Well, they're his
His
eternal
sister.
parents.
Okay.
Now, that sounds like a contradiction, right? He has two sets of eternal parents. What's going on? And then there's the answer is already mentioned that the Siddhanta or the Tattva is the same, but rasa is different. So within Krishna is everything. That means within Krishna is the kind of love that Vasudeva and Devaki have, and he reciprocates. Within Krishna is the kind of love that Nanda and Yasoda have, and he reciprocates, because everything is within Krishna. So he has two sets of parents because there's two kinds of love, where there's more emphasis on Aishvarya with Vasudeva and Devaki, because that's how he appeared. Form. With, he didn't appear like a little baby. Krishna appeared like in Vrindavan, he appeared like a little baby. No peacock feather, no hair, no symbols of Vishnu, two arms, little baby. Because that's Nanda and Yasoda. Their kind of love is like that. And even he showed his divinity. They couldn't grasp it. They rationalized it some other way. They processed it some other way. It bounced. Yogamaya protected them because of their kind of love, the rasa that they have as parents for the personality of Godhead. And Vasudeva and Devaki, a different kind of love. So why two sets of parents? Because they're different kinds of love. And he's reciprocating. That's part of the mystery of Krishna. Within Krishna is everything, and he reciprocates with those who have love for him. And for us, practically speaking, it's covered. There's also love, but it's covered. Covered by so many things, for so many lifetimes, who can say? And our task, our assignment, our human mission is to awaken that love. So to awaken that love, that's the dimmer switch. And then darkness is dispelled. Just keep your hand moving in the right direction. Because you let go, it'll start. Okay. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.